Azuleit مسويت ماس سيتي ماتيري مليح. Do Amazigh people exist only since 2973 years ago? Why should we talk in this video about Egypt? Who is Shashnak? What is Haguz? Well, we'll see all this in this video. Bring your cup of tea and let's begin. So, the question I was asking myself years ago is whether do we Amazigh people exist only since 2973 years ago? Well, it turned out that this date has nothing to do with Amazigh people or Imazighen. Or let's say it has to do with it, but we will see this later in this video. In history, and without any proof, the first man from where all Imazighen descended was called Mazigh. In some history books, we can find that Mazigh was the son of Canaan, son of Ham, son of Noah, which is the biblical prophet. Mazigh was the one who settled down in North Africa, let's say thousands of years before. So what's the meaning of 2973 if Mazigh, which is considered as an ancestor of all Imazighen, was living way before? Well, I told you before that this is a little bit complicated and exciting story. So for this, I will take you in a small trip in order to see one of the greatest pharaohs in all Egyptian history, which is called Shashnak. Few thousand years before our era, North Africa was already populated by Amazigh and only Amazigh people. In an eastern region of actual Libya, there was an Amazigh tribe called Meshwesh. This tribe decided to travel and settle down peacefully in the Nile Delta in Egypt. So, year after year, this tribe become bigger, stronger, and wiser. And their leaders become more influential in the pharaoh's sphere. So now, I will bring you forward 1,000 years before our era, which means before the birth of Jesus. A little child was born from this tribe. He was called Shashnak. Once Shashnak became an adult, he joined Pharaoh's army and climbed bit by bit the ladder until he became the commander-in-chief of the army. So, based on the battles he won leading the Pharaoh's army, the Pharaoh admired this young Shashnak. The Pharaoh then married him with his only daughter. This way, Shashnak was the natural successor of the Pharaoh Psusen II. Thing that happened 950 years before our era, which means before the birth of Jesus. So if we simply add 950 years to 2023, which is the year I am making this video, we will have exactly 2973, which is the Amazigh year we are celebrating right now. So this Amazigh year is not related to the birth of the first Amazigh person. It is related to the first event marking the Amazigh population. The recognition of the Amazigh New Year with a public holiday took place in 1980 in Paris. It is part of an ongoing process to recognize the Amazigh population worldwide. Okay, so right now I've explained why we are in the year 2973. But why the 12th of January? So, in order to understand this, we need to talk a little bit about calendars. So, Amazigh people used for centuries the agrarian calendar, which is different from Gregorian calendar that we're using right now. Agrarian calendar is based on both the changing seasons and the different cycles of vegetation. The first day of agrarian calendar coincides with the 12th of January. So, this is why we are celebrating our first day of Yennayer or Haguz in January 12th. So, what is the etymology behind Yennayer? In fact, there are two theories talking about Yennayer. The first theory is saying that Yennayer is composed by two sections. The first section is Yen or Yan, which means one or first. And the second section is Ayer or Ayur. Ayur in Amazigh language means the moon and the month. So if we assemble the two sections, we got the first moon or the first month. And the second theory is talking about the similarity between the month Yennayer and Januarius, which is the Latin word of January. By knowing the agrarian months, I can say that it is more probable that the second theory is correct. Now that we know the etymology of Yennayer, how does Riffian celebrate Yennayer? Well, it is a little bit cliche what we see right now in social media, especially bling bling things, fashion, meals, yet traditional, but have nothing to do with Yennayer. This is why I spent the last few weeks reading history books and asking my grandparents what have they known about this day of the year. Before Haguz, or the first day of the year, women used to prepare a large amount of bread and a culinary specialty that exists in all the northern region of Africa, which is called hatita or pagrero. And this hatita exists until this day. In Rif, women prepare also what we call thimuyes, which are simply barley grains, imindi, that are sleeved to take away soil particles, then rinsed in water and left one night in a bowl of water. And this in order to be able to peel it. And then they used a wooden squash called ididik to peel it. Once done, they prepare fire and a large utensil in order to cook thimuyes. They become fully cooked once they pop up. In addition to thimuyes, women arrange a good amount of barley and wheat, dried figs, raisin, almonds, and other dried fruits. Children play a big role in Haguz. In fact, they are the main focus of the family. Each kid get a bag made of wool and doom, which we call it in Riffian thigsdant. In English it's a kind of palm stems. And then, by the first night of Haguz, each kid pays a visit to every house in the tribe. And this in order to ask for treats. It's like Halloween. So, once given these treats, which are thimuyas, dried fruits, dried figs, raisins, almonds, etc., they pray God for goodness and blessings for the people of that house. But if they are not given treats, they ask God misfortune and misery for people living in that house. Once they visited all the houses in the tribe, they retrieve home and they split what they've earned equally. Our ancestors believed that the more they give to the children, the more they will harvest in that year. Meanwhile, women prepare a kind of porridge called imshiachan, based on whole wheat, imindi, peas, and green beans, onion, garlic, and a little bit of salt. And the entire family are gathered in order to feast. They make sure that kids eat well that night by scaring them with a story of an old woman stealing kids that don't eat well. I believe that the story of Haguz or Yennayer deserve to be shared, so don't hesitate to share it with your friends and family. And I encourage you to celebrate this day of the year, not as influencers do, but as our ancestors did. Thank you so much. I use أسقس them gaz أسقس them imun Azul.